We are live. We're going to check audio. And then we'll be ready to go. I got an ad. I don't want to get copyrighted. Well, none of you are here yet. I don't want to get copyrighted. Hello. I'm talking to myself. Hello. I'm talking to myself. My audio seems to be off. No, it's because you can hear from my phone. Okay. All right. As fun as that was, Alabama pulls off the win over Ole Miss in Oxford, 30-24. I don't know why that's showing up like a ticker. It's not what I want. I want it like this. Crimson Tide showed some guts in that win. Drop your comments, leave your likes, subscribe. You're listening to Alabama Postgame at the voice of college football. I am Zach Ramilius. Ballard couldn't be here tonight. He unfortunately has to work. Darn lives get in the way. But before we get started, like, subscribe, sign up at our Patreon. Sign up for our Patreon and join our Discord. Talk college football all the time. Just search patreon.com/Mark Rogers TV and talk college football with a bunch of nutcases all night, all day, every day. Join the college football call-in show at the Voice of College Football on the main channel, 11:30 Eastern Time, Standard Time, I guess. I should have put EST. And call in. Mark's going to give all of his opinions, as him, like I, watched a lot of college football today. I got Georgia, Mississippi State on deck, and as one of my favorite Twitter people said, time to watch Mississippi State throw the ball 60 times and score 9 points. What's wrong, Puppy Dog? We'll eat dinner after this, okay? Goofball. Anyway, so Alabama wins. They moved to 8-2 on the season. Gutsy win. Early on, what I will say is it wasn't pretty. For the first couple drives, and Ole Miss went up 10-0. Sorry, I'm pulling up box score. Ole Miss went up 10-0 pretty quick. To me, it just kind of looked like Alabama quit. More than likely, before the game, unless LSU lost to Texas A&M, they weren't going to win the SEC championship. They weren't even going to go to the SEC championship. And then they're out of the playoff picture with 2 losses and no real great wins. Lost their 2 big opportunities for great wins. This is before the game, of course, because winning in Oxford nowadays is a good win. And the Crimson Tide were able to pull it off today. Pull that back up. Just kind of a gutsy win. I don't really know what else. Leave your comments on what you thought of this game. Nothing pretty. Today reminded me of an old, Alabama close game. Like a A.J. McCarron, maybe closer to a 2015 game with Jake Coker. Just kind of an ugly game, but they found a way to win it. You even look at some of the box scores, some of the team stats. Alabama got outgained today 403-317. Jackson Dart for Ole Miss went for 212 yards. Bryce Young only went for 209 yards. Ole Miss ran for 191 yards. You don't see that too often. And 1 turnover for each team. So clearly, if you look at some of these stats, Ole Miss played a really good football game. Their fans are probably going to argue they should have won this game, and I won't necessarily disagree with them. They played a good game. Lane Kiffin's done a heck of a job there. I'm sure he'll continue to do a heck of a job there. But coming into the game, we talked about this last week with Ballard. I didn't think Jackson Dart was going to be able to make enough plays with his arm to make Alabama nervous or worry them. And it would come time to make a big play. I don't think Jackson Dart was going to be that guy. And he wasn't. They got down to the red zone, end of the game, and he had to make a couple throws and missed. It was weird on that last possession. They were running the ball at will. Let's see. Yeah, I mean, they get first of all at 25, 9-yard pass, but 35-yard run, 3-yard pass, 14-yard run. So they get 1st and 10 at the 14-yard line, and they throw a thing. They throw like a thing to the corner. I don't know if Jackson Dart was the one in the wrong or the wide receiver wasn't the one in the wrong, but the receiver cut in. It seemed like he was supposed to cut out. Jackson Dart kind of threw it halfway up the end zone. Incomplete. And then they tried a QB draw. Didn't work. No gain. And then he was sacked on another. I mean, I don't think it was a draw, but he was kind of in between. And then he had an incomplete pass. Like, he just was not able to make enough plays with his arm later in the game. And then Alabama just 2 plays, 2 yards. Game over. The totals today, not great for Alabama. Like I said, they only gained 317 yards today. That's not like an outrageous number. Considering what we saw like Tennessee do earlier today, what Georgia's probably going to do. But Bryce Young, 21 of 33, 209 yards, 3 touchdowns, though. No interceptions. I thought Bryce played really, really solid football. He had a couple of Bryce Young plays where he makes something out of nothing, and it's what he does. It's what he's going to do. He's going to make something out of nothing, and he's going to make a play. One of his touchdowns, he did that. But all in all, nothing crazy. Like, this isn't a game where you're going to be like, that was the Bryce Young game. Just another solid game. From the running game, Jace McClellan, 19 carries, 84 yards, 4 yards a carry. Not, he a little over 4 yards a carry, long of 12. Bryce Young, a long of 14. Ole Miss did a good job. But we've talked about this all year. For those of you that have been with me, Bill O'Brien is just not creative in the run game. He's just not. You look at the other top offensive minds in the country, whether it be NFL or college, Mike McDaniel. This hat is broken. It's a Florida Panthers hat. I don't know what's going on with it. It looks like I'm wearing like a skull cap. Whatever. Mike McDaniel, Kyle Shanahan, even in college, Lincoln Riley, Lane Kiffin, Steve Sarkisian. They're able to find things in the running game. And Bill O'Brien's just not that. Today, as a whole, 36 carries, 108 yards. Woohoo. Like, just not great offensive production from the run game today. And not great offensive production overall. It really does feel like if Bill O'Brien doesn't take another job this year, whether that be, if he gets the Nebraska job or whatever, he's not going to be back. No matter what happens, he's not going to be back at Alabama next year, which is probably for the best for all of Alabama fans' sanity. Man, had Bryce Young. And what's up, puppy dog? Don't start whining. And he just, Jahmyr Gibbs, and this offense is just kind of crummy. Like, it relies way too much on Bryce Young making plays, which thankfully he can do. But if you have a lesser quarterback, they would be in trouble. And next year, with this same offense, if it's Ty Simpson or if it's Jalen Monroe or whoever, And and I'll be honest, I had stuff going on this afternoon, so I was watching the game, obviously, but I didn't have the audio on. I was having to work on other stuff. Did Jahmyr Gibbs get hurt? Can somebody in the comments, like Zach Evans was hurt, and that's why Jenkins excuse me. So why Judkins had a lot more carries for Ole Miss today. Where was Jahmyr Gibbs on the day? 6 carries for 3 yards. Okay, nothing's going in the run game, but he's very often a safety valve, and he's able to make something happen. This dog is goofy. In the passing game, and he only had 1 catch, 5 yards. And I was just looking on Twitter to make sure I didn't miss something. Was he hurt? Okay, buddy, you can here say hi. Say hi. No, say hi. I didn't know if he was hurt, if I just missed something, but he just didn't get any run. And that's ridiculous when you have a guy like him that can make something out of nothing. Now, McClellan had a nice game, but I don't know. It just kind of feels like Bill O'Brien, whether he's fired or he takes another job, he's not going to be a member of the Alabama Crimson Tide coaching staff. And longer we go, I don't think Pete Golding is. There's been reports that Alabama's considering changing a ton of its staff next year. That wouldn't stun me. Alabama is still, I'm not saying, how do I put this? They're still one of the top dogs in college football, but if Georgia wins another title, Alabama's not the top dog anymore. They're going to have to battle back, and this is a disappointing year. They're going to win. They're going to go 10-2, and they're going to go to a really good bowl game. But for Alabama, that's really disappointing. And what I will give Nick Saban credit for is in the first quarter, at the beginning, as we talked about it, Ole Miss went up 10-0, and there was no physicality from Alabama on offense or defense. The energy wasn't there. It honestly, it looked like some guys had made some business decisions and gone, I got an NFL future to protect. They picked it up, and after falling down 10-0, they outscored Ole Miss 30-14. That's no small feat. Ole Miss is a really good football team, especially in Oxford. This head is really distracting me. But they were able to pull off a win. Leave your comments, your questions, what you guys think of today's game. To me, it kind of felt like a 2015 Alabama game, or like a 2013 or 12. Like they were like nothing flashy, but they were able to pull it out. They made enough plays. Now, of course, in those games, they weren't getting outgained by almost 100 yards. Come here, goofball! Don't fall off the couch. And they weren't giving up, damn near 200 yards rushing. Part of that's Lane Kiffin. We saw it when he was a member of the Crimson Tide offensive staff. We've seen it everywhere he goes since then, Florida Atlantic and Ole Miss. They're going to be able to run the ball because he's a very creative offensive mind. And, last year they were great at running the ball. This year they're going to be great. This year they've been really good at running the ball. They did an incredible job in the transfer portal. But now for Alabama, they play Austin Peay next week. That's not going to be an entertaining game. Today's game was really entertaining once Alabama woke up. Next week's game probably not going to be very entertaining. They play Austin Peay. Then they got a really bad Auburn team. Although, wouldn't it be funny if Auburn beat Texas A&M tonight with Cadillac? That'd be funny. Like, come on. I know we all hate Auburn. that'd be a little funny to me. When you're Alabama right now and your season's over, like the goals you would set for the season are over. You're not winning the SEC West. You're not winning the SEC, and you're not winning a national title. And now you're finishing the season with Austin Peay and a really bad Auburn team that's already fired its coach. It might be a little easy to become distracted. So we'll see where that plays out over the next couple of weeks. And then as we get into the bowl game, Can they get that 11th win against, whoever? Alex, you're good, my man. Yeah, next week we'll be here. Catch it, coach. Follow his channel. Yep, unfortunately he had to work. That happens. That's why we have two people now that are going to be able to do this. So if I get caught up doing something, he can do a post-game show, and hopefully most of the time we can just do it together. But no worries, man. It happens. I get it. I thought for a while I might go to Champaign today with my friend, watch Illinois. Thank God I didn't do that. Papa Dog, you are being ridiculous right now. I told you I had this. So, for those of you in the comment section, what is your biggest takeaway from this game? He just wants to be petted. For me, it's the fact that this team hasn't quit. In a big game today, with the season over, it would have been easy for them, especially going down 10-0 early. It would have been easy to go, guys like Will Anderson, guys like Bryce Young to go, all right, that's that. We've done all we can do. Let's worry about our NFL futures. They didn't do that. They battled back. They won a game on the road against a top 15 team. They came up with the big plays at the end. But that's what today was about. They made enough plays to get a win on the road in the SEC. There's not a lot of teams that can do that. Georgia can do that. Again, they went to Missouri, and they were able to make enough plays to win a game. No, Mizzou's god-awful compared to Ole Miss, but they were able to make enough plays to win a game. Tennessee went to LSU and played a great game, and I'm trying to think of a game Tennessee really struggled in on the road. Pitt. They really struggled against Pitt, and they made enough plays, and they won a game. Alabama was able to do that today, and considering the circumstances of their season was ended last week. They're not winning the SEC West. They're not winning the SEC. They're not winning a national title. We're making the playoff. Kudos to them. Kudos to that coaching staff for getting them up and going after falling down 10-0. But, man, there's some things in this game that are worrying for the future, but also not. Because as we talked about, I don't think either of these coordinators are coming back. Maybe outside shot Pete Golding comes back. I highly doubt it. The defense wasn't great today. Again, gave up 190 yards rushing, 212 yards passing, 403 total yards. That's just not it. And then for Alabama offensively, they only had 317 yards, 209 yards passing, 108 yards rushing. 108 yards rushing on 36 attempts. Come on. 3 yards a carry. You're Alabama, and you've got 3 yards a carry. And this has been a problem for 2 years now. Is this running game is just not good enough. It's not the talent. Brian Robinson's starting in the NFL. And if any of you follow me on Twitter, I don't think running backs matter in the NFL. Your favorite running back doesn't matter. Because they're all the same, basically, and don't pay them. Anyway, but obviously Brian Robinson's very talented if he's starting in the NFL as a rookie, including with all that's happened to him, and thank the Lord he's better. Jahmyr Gibbs is going to be a high pick in the draft. What are we doing? There's no push. There's just no movement being created up front. And even in Jahmyr Gibbs' best plays, make two guys miss and go. People online always ask, why Alabama the last 2 years haven't been able to blow out anybody on the road? Why are they struggling with Texas? Texas is a fine team, but they're not anything special. Why are they struggling with Ole Miss? Why do they struggle with LSU? They don't have the offensive line they used to. They're not able to. What Alabama was used to be able to do so well is a team. Let's say Alabama would go up like 17-0, and a game would, all of a sudden the other team would fight back, and it's 20-13, 20-14. Alabama's getting the ball back. Crowd in Starkville, whatever, really getting wild. They're going crazy, and Alabama would be able to go 5. Just hand the ball off for 5 yards. Hand the ball off for 5 yards. Hand the ball off for 4 yards. Throw a play action for 12 yards. Hand the ball off for 6 yards. Hand the ball off for 4. You know what I'm saying? Like, they were just able to slowly, methodically make their way downfield. No tackles for a loss. No penalties. Just slowly make their way, score a touchdown, and now it's 27-14. All the pressure's on the offense. 3 and out. Bama gets the ball back. Do it again. And all of a sudden, what was like a close game is now a blowout. They were able to do that constantly. They can't do it anymore, and they haven't been able to do it since Najee Harris and that great 2020 team. And, of course, road games didn't matter that year because of COVID. We didn't have road games. You played games at a neutral site, sort of. There was no crowd. They just don't have the run game. And when you can't run the ball and you can't breed that physical presence in college, like I said, I don't care about running backs in the NFL. I think they're all kind of the same. In college, they do matter because not everybody on a college defense is an NFL player. And if you have an NFL back, he's going to be able to run over some people, make some people miss, change angles, change ways that they're trying to form and tackle him. And Alabama's obviously got the running backs to do it. Jahmyr Gibbs has been incredible at doing some of those things. And Brian Robinson, last year really struggled at times, but he obviously can do it. He's in the NFL, for God's sakes, and starting after being shot. So why is Alabama Stetson Bennett just throws a duck that's picked? That's the worst pass I think I've ever seen Stetson Bennett throw. The Alabama run game has me at a loss for words each and every week. And if there's any of you that have been here the last couple years, same thing last year. Like, it just every week it's why can you not run the ball? Like, it seems so easy at times for other teams. Like, Ole Miss made it look really easy today to run the football. They ran for 191 yards. And they stuck with it. 49 carries, 191 yards. That's under 4 yards a rush. But they stuck with it, and they were able to make some plays. Alabama just doesn't stick with it, and it's wildly unsuccessful. Oh, goodness gracious. Bill O'Brien's offense seems to be really rotated on Bryce Young, please God, bail me out, make a play. And because he's Bryce freaking Young, he's able to do that. He can escape the pocket, find a guy. Sometimes his timing's been a little off this year. I don't know if that's because of the brand new receivers, but, Bryce, a lot of the times, it feels like this year, just stepping back, throwing hasn't worked a ton. I think part of that's the receivers, and part of that is he's been hurt, hasn't been practicing. And when you don't have that timing down with new receivers, you're going to struggle. But your offense can't be, please God, make a play. There's jokes all over Twitter, like that's the playbook. Play one, Bryce, roll to your left, make something happen. Bryce, roll to your right, make something happen. Bryce, drop back, make something happen. You're not going to be successful doing that. Even teams in the NFL who have quarterbacks that can do things like that. Josh Allen, Patrick Mahomes, Lamar Jackson, go make something happen. They do, but that doesn't, how many Super Bowls those guys have? One. You need to be able to run the ball, and you need to be able to make plays within a structure, and Alabama hasn't done that now for 2 years. They just haven't. I mean, disagree excuse me, disagree with me if you want in the comments. I know this has kind of been the blast Bill O'Brien's offense hour, but I was wrong. A few weeks ago, they played Tennessee. I did a post-game show, and I argued I think Bill O'Brien's pretty good at his – or not pretty good. I think he's okay at his job. They did score 49 points in a loss to Tennessee. As the weeks have gone on, I was wrong. It happens. You know, I'm fine admitting I'm wrong. I've been wrong about a lot of things. I was right about Ben Simmons, though. Check my Twitter. PsychoZ50. I was very right about Ben Simmons, but I was wrong about Bill O'Brien. You know, a month ago, I was like, you know, this guy isn't great. I think he's a pretty average offensive coordinator. His run game philosophy stinks, but I think he's fine. It's not. It's bad. It's really, really bad. Let's move on to something else. As you're listening to Alabama Postgame at the voice of college football, Alabama does beat Ole Miss 30-24 in Oxford. It was a great game, great environment. Like, subscribe to the video, like the video, subscribe to the channel. Subscribe to all our channels. A lot of people do a lot of great work here. Subscribe over to Ballard Sports Media. He's my co-host most of the time. Unfortunately, was not able to be here this week due to work. It happens. And he's a good guy, and he knows what he's talking about. Subscribe to the video, share it to channels, guys. We're just here to talk about Alabama football postgame, and the season's winding down. Come in here, rant and rave. As long as you're not a lunatic and mean, rant and rave and whatever. What do you think's wrong with the program right now? Coming in now to a 2-loss season. I'm very close to a 3-loss. You could do this with almost any team in the country, but Alabama's now a couple plays away from 10-0 and number 1 in the country, and they're a couple plays away from 6-4. Lost Ole Miss, lost Texas. It's just weird how these things work out. Patreon. Join our Discord. Talk college football all the time. Sign up at patreon.com. Search Mark Rogers TV. Donate. You get put in our Discord channel. Talk college football all the time. Like the graphic says, just a bunch of lunatics. What's better than this? Talking college football with people who love and are passionate about the sport. It's like Twitter, except you can talk to somebody directly, and they probably will reply. And then join the Voice of College Football call-in show at 11:30 Eastern on the main channel, the Voice of College Football, at Mark Rogers TV. Mark will be breaking down all these games today as we start getting into the late night cap, into Pac-12 after dark. Break down all this stuff, what he's seen, who are his playoff teams, because that'll, of course, start after TCU and Texas are done. So we'll know if Texas or TCU are or not Texas, if TCU is still in that playoff hunt, because if they lose, they're probably out. Yeah, join it. I'm Zach Ramilius. You can find me at PsychoZ50 on Twitter. We'll keep talking about this game for a little bit while longer, though. I wish – that's the wrong thing. Whoopsies. Let's put that up. That's an old one. I wish I could rolltide.com and pull up live stats sooner so I could give, breakdowns like defensive plays. I thought Dallas Turner had a nice game. I thought the outside rushers, I thought had a good game. There's college football YouTube channels that have talked about it. The inner part of the Alabama defensive line, he's trying to get his tail, has struggled immensely. Just struggled. They haven't been able to get any push, get any depth into the backfield. And while today you look at Ole Miss and you go, okay, they only averaged 3.9 yards a rush, still getting 191 yards. There weren't many tackles for loss, it felt like, on the run game. They were able to make their mark, and it's just physical, and it's just wearing on you. If you can't make tackles for a loss, force penalties, force holdings, hold up gaps for linebackers to come through. Just just all around, Alabama did win, and there's something to be said for they were down 10-0. It'd have been very, very, very easy to quit or not, or just kind of make some business decisions. Go, okay, you know what, our season is over, whatever. But they didn't. They played really hard, and they came back and they made enough plays to win. But I think it's fair to say in a lot of parts of this game, Ole Miss outplayed them. But Alabama has a top 3 pick at quarterback making plays, and Ole Miss has Jackson Dart, who could potentially be very good. He has all the tools, just not there yet. He's just not. There's definitely a difference between Matt Corral and Jackson Dart, you can tell. And so right now, Jackson Dart's just not that guy. But could he grow into that? If you're an Ole Miss fan listening, absolutely. You see there's enough things there. He's only a sophomore. There's still time for him to develop. But that was the difference. Because one quarterback was able to make some plays. The other one, not so much. But Bryce Young wasn't fantastic today. He wasn't amazing today. He just made enough plays to get a win on the road. And that's basically what the Alabama defense did. I mean, if you want to look at some of these other stats, I mean, third down efficiency, 6 for 14 for Alabama, 8 for 16 for Ole Miss. Again, Pete Golding's defense just did not do a lot of third and shorts. Fourth down, Ole Miss was 0 for 3. That really burned them. Yards per pass, Alabama 6.3, Ole Miss 6.6. Neither team threw an interception. Both had a turnover. Penalties, they weren't atrocious. Last few games, Alabama's been putting up like 150 yards in penalties, setting program records for penalties. Not the case here. Only five penalties for 45 yards. 15 of those was when they tried to rip Jackson Dart's head off. Good Lord, how was he okay after that? Face mask, just yanked it, and somehow, some way, Jackson Dart turned out to be okay after that, because that was violent and a brutal play. But that's where 15 of those yards came from. So penalties, they weren't like the big issue today. Like, how did Alabama? How did they stay in this game? Wasn't because of penalties. For the first time, like all year, it wasn't because of penalties. That's been a little ridiculous this year from the Tide. And Ballard and I talked about that last week. Like, who do you put the blame on for the penalties? To me, it comes to coaching. I mean, I know they aren't coaching the kids like, hey, horse collar tackle this guy, do this. They're not doing that. But when there's no discipline, is when you have 3 games where you're darn near setting program records and one game where you are setting a program record for penalties. Man, I am just watched a lot of college football this year, haven't we, folks? Don't know if you're all like me, where you kind of take Saturday off and you just watch. You have 2 TVs and a laptop, as I do, but if you're fortunate enough to be able to. But it's been a long year, and we're coming down to the end. I think my playoff picks right now are Georgia. Obviously, I think Georgia's safe no matter what, as we are on the college football SEC. Talk about this a little bit before I log off for the night. I think right now it's Georgia, basically no matter what. I think they're in. The winner of Ohio State, Michigan is in. TCU, if they run the table, which is going to be hard because they have Texas tonight, and then they have Baylor on the road they have Baylor the following week, and then they have, I think, Iowa State, who Iowa State's not very good, but they keep teams in games, or they keep themselves in games, excuse me. And then for the 4th spot, you're going to have LSU if they can run a table and win an SEC championship. You're going to have Michigan or Ohio State loser. You're going to have the Pac-12 champion. You're going to have Tennessee. It's going to be an interesting race for that final 4 spot to see who plays the 1 seed, which will either be Georgia or Michigan or Ohio State come, New Year's. If I had to guess today, I would say it'd be Georgia, Ohio State. I don't think TCU is going to run it. I'd like to see him do it. Ohio State, Tennessee will make it, and then I will guess. Oh God, that's the last toughest pick. So I'm going to guess Michigan because I want to put Oregon in because Oregon has gotten a lot better since they lost to Georgia, but I don't think the committee will be like, well, Georgia's our 1 seed. Do we really want to watch them play Oregon again? Like we've seen Bo Nix play Georgia now 4 times. None of the times has it gone well. So that's who I think my playoff is right now. Is that guy needs to put his shirt down? Holy cow! Got yourself there a gut, Bubba. I love Starkville. Starkville seems like such a fun place to like go see a game. Just with the bells and just a whole bunch of all this other fun. I mean, there's a lot of SEC teams. Congrats to Vanderbilt, by the way, snapping that losing streak. Woo, buddy! Congrats. That was so fun. Clark Lee crying on the field, basically. Man, that was so cool. Good for them. Whipping around the SEC. Tennessee did what Tennessee does, except for against Georgia. Because last week against Georgia, they just LSU played LSU wins the SEC West officially now with Ole Miss losing. They are your SEC West champions. It's starting to feel like the reverse, isn't it? Like normally it's like, oh God, okay, it was a 2-loss. Oh God, Florida made the SEC title game, but they're like 9-3. Like, who cares? It's kind of feeling, but it's the reverse where it's like, oh God, LSU won it. Cool. They'll go get stomped by Georgia. Unless it was Alabama. And credit to LSU. They've gotten so much better as the year's gone on. They had they should have beaten Florida State. Everything that could go wrong went wrong. And then they played like crap against Tennessee and lost and got killed. But they've gotten better, and they're SEC West champions, so good for LSU. But they escaped Arkansas today, playing a third-string quarterback. Florida kicked the crap out of South Carolina because that's what Florida does to South Carolina. It feels like when years where Florida hasn't actively quit on its head coach. Like they did last year. They're 6-4. Florida 6-4. Alabama moves 8-2. Ole Miss 8-2. Vanderbilt 4-6. Win out, make a bowl game. And no, Vanderbilt I think has Florida and Tennessee left, so that'd be super funny. But no. Kentucky's now 6-4, I think. Yeah. Missouri's 4-6. Tennessee 9-1. And right now, of course, going on, we have Texas A&M who's 36 playing Auburn who's 3-6. How did this get a night game? I have no idea. Over LSU Arkansas. Is it one of those things where like the SEC network has to have a night game at like every stadium? Like I don't know. Is there like a contract there or something weird going on? And then of course, Georgia is playing Mississippi State on ESPN. Let's see. Because I've been talking to you guys, so I haven't really been seeing the stats. Let me look at the stats. But Will Rogers is only 3 for 9 for 8 yards. I don't think I've ever seen a average yards per attempt below 1. I don't think I've ever seen that. Wow. Look, the joke is they're going to throw the ball 60 times and score 7 points tonight, which is pretty likely. So that's your SEC whip around. Any last comments or thoughts? I'm going to go ahead and log off for the night. I'm going to go eat some dinner. I think my dog needs to get taken out, so I think I'm going to take him out. Anything else? Leave a comment on your thoughts. I thought it was a gutsy win for Alabama. They didn't play very well. I think Ole Miss played a pretty good game and just didn't win because Alabama made enough plays. Thank you all for tuning in. I'm Zach Remelius here at Alabama Postgame, live at the Boys College Football. We're live every week. Next week, Ballard will be back here with us to talk about Austin Peay and breaking down, more of like what happened this season and the outlook going forward. Because I can't imagine if there's a lot to talk about next week, there's going to be some issues. Like the video, subscribe. We're here every week. Subscribe to all our channels. A lot of people putting a lot of good work for every team that has a huge following. I mean, I could tell you all the teams we have. Ohio State, Miami, Florida State, Oregon, Iowa, Notre Dame, Texas, Virginia Tech, Florida, Penn State, South Carolina, Clemson, West Virginia, USC, Georgia, LSU, Michigan, Texas A&M, and then there's a couple there's like another Iowa channel. Follow all of them. They all put in great work. They all do great jobs in their post game and their breakdowns. Subscribe. Do what you can, guys. Like, there's a lot of people doing a lot of good work. Join our Discord. Join our Patreon. We'll join our Patreon to join our Discord and talk college football all the time. Like, what's better than that? As Stevie Adazio said, what's better than this? Sign up at patreon.com. Search Mark Rogers TV. And then join our college football, Voice of College Football call-in show live at 11:30 Eastern, 10:30 my time on the main channel, Mark Rogers TV. He'll break down all this fun stuff, I'm sure, because today's been an interesting day in college football as we prepare for next week, which is probably going to be like the Pac-12 week of the decade. Thank you guys all for tuning in. I'm Zach Remelius. You can follow me on Twitter at PsychoZ_50. It's a play on old Tyler Hansbrough. It was Psycho T, and we're number 50. If you don't remember him, you're too young to be watching rated R movies. Thank you all. Congrats to Alabama on their win, and we'll be back next week for their game against the Austin Peay Governors. Have a great night and have a great rest of your weekend.